Today's meetings focused on the January 6th hearings, conducted by the House Select Committee to investigate the Capitol riots. One key aspect of today's hearing revolved around Jeffrey Clark, a DOJ lawyer who was considered as a replacement for the acting Attorney General. Clark was known for his allegiance to Donald Trump and his involvement in attempting to overturn the election results. Despite facing resistance from other officials within the Justice Department, Clark persisted in his efforts to undermine the election on behalf of Trump. A video was presented during the hearing, revealing a meeting between Trump and Clark facilitated by Republican Congressman Scott Perry. This video provided testimony from a DOJ official regarding Clark's role, objectives, and potential consequences. During the hearing, Mr. Donahue, a witness, was questioned about an email he received from Clark on December 28th. Clark had sent a draft letter that he wanted Donahue to sign and send to Georgia state officials. Donahue expressed his concerns about the grave constitutional consequences of such a letter. He found Clark's proposal extreme and inconsistent with the department's role. Donahue explained that the department should not interfere with how state legislatures choose their electors, particularly when the proposal was based on falsehoods contradicting the department's own investigations. Despite being informed by former acting Attorney General Rich Donahue that his idea lacked credibility and would not be pursued, Clark persisted in promoting the alternative slate of electors to overturn the 2020 presidential election results on behalf of Trump. Consequently, the FBI conducted a raid on Jeffrey Clark's residence, which he vehemently opposed. However, the testimony and evidence presented during the hearing provided substantial justification for the action taken by the FBI. Today, Jessica wants to emphasize that the recent raid on Jeffrey Clark's house was justified and that he should indeed be investigated. Before delving into the details of the raid, it's important to address the context leading up to it. During a meeting that lasted for approximately 2.5 hours, Donald Trump gathered with legal advisors to discuss the possibility of replacing the Attorney General. This meeting wasn't prompted by any lack of investigation or refusal to pursue legal matters, as the data had already been examined, revealing no evidence of fraud. Trump sought to manipulate the Department of Justice, DOJ, according to his personal desires, bypassing due process. Jeffrey Clark, an environmental lawyer, eagerly volunteered to fulfill Trump's requests, likely aligning with his previous career choices where he may have prioritized the interests of powerful entities, including oil companies. The significance of the FBI raid on Clark's home cannot be overstated. Such an action implies that there may be incriminating evidence within his residence, potentially implicating both Clark and Trump in criminal activities. Let's now discuss the details of the FBI raid. Clark, within the Justice Department, propagated conspiracy theories, including one suggesting that Chinese spies used thermometers to tamper with U.S. voting machines. These claims were revealed through internal emails made public in a 2021 Senate Judiciary Committee report. However, Clark's involvement goes even further. In the days leading up to January 6th, he assisted Trump in devising a plan to remove then-acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen. Clark aimed to position himself as the head of the DOJ and manipulate the department to intervene in Georgia's voting results, aiming to overturn them in favor of Trump. This aligns with their attempts to implement alternative slates of electors in swing states where Trump had lost. A notorious meeting took place on January 3rd, 2021, in the Oval Office. During this tense gathering, Jeffrey Rosen, Richard Donahue, Rosen's deputy at the time, and Stephen Engel, head of the Office of Legal Counsel, all threatened to resign in protest. Their unified stance eventually convinced. Trump was eventually persuaded not to appoint Jeffrey Clark as the head of the DOJ, which came as a shock. It wasn't just a few high-ranking officials within the department who threatened to resign if Clark was given the position. Every individual consulted within the Justice Department expressed the same sentiment. Trump found himself backed into a corner, because a mass exodus of DOJ officials would have resulted in a significant crisis for his administration. At one point, he asked Rosen if he would fire Clark, but Rosen responded that the decision was up to Trump himself. Ultimately, Trump decided against firing Clark, and he remained in the DOJ. However, it's worth noting that time was running out for the administration. The idea of being present in the room during these conversations is mind-boggling. One can only imagine the dynamics and the weight of the discussions. Perhaps Trump was swayed by the unanimous condemnation of the proposed appointment, realizing the severe consequences it could entail. Trump had been changing attorney generals as frequently as he changed stocks at that point, which is absurd and highly inappropriate for public officials. Furthermore, appointing Clark as acting attorney general would have resulted in his first act being a felony. According to those in the room, this revelation must have instilled a sense of fear in Trump, who has led a privileged life and likely cannot fathom the idea of being confined to a prison cell. Indeed, even today, Trump remains entitled and harbors the belief that he is above the law, making it highly unlikely for him to anticipate ever setting foot inside a prison cell. During the meeting, the announcement that Clark's first act as Attorney General would involve committing a felony further emphasized the gravity of his potential actions. I found the testimony from White House lawyer Eric Henchman regarding Jeffrey Clark to be quite intriguing. Henchman recounted the events of the meeting and stated that Clark was repeatedly confronted and informed that he was breaking the law. Henchman's videotaped deposition with the committee captured him saying, "Effing ****, congratulations! You just admitted that your first step or act as Attorney General would be committing a felony." Henchman is known for his colorful language, and while it may not appeal to everyone, it is important to pay attention to this testimony. It's crucial to note that this testimony doesn't just come from Democratic lawmakers, whose words might be dismissed by independent or Republican voters. The significance lies in hearing from individuals who served in Trump's administration, particularly White House lawyers. Even if it doesn't sway the staunchest supporters of Trump, it contributes to establishing a clear historical record of what truly transpired. It's not just Democrats making claims of partisanship or operating a kangaroo court. Republicans from within the administration have criticized Trump's attempts to steal the election. These high-ranking officials were highly critical of Jeffrey Clark, and their comments included humorous jabs, such as telling him to go back to his office and wait for a call if there's an oil spill. Clark's lack of experience in investigating criminal cases or electoral matters made his appointment as Attorney General and head of the DOJ highly questionable. Trump found himself in a desperate situation where Clark was seemingly his only option, despite his limited expertise and understanding of the complexities involved. It's absurd to appoint someone to such a critical position without the necessary qualifications. But Trump's desperation led him down that path. These revelations shed light on the circumstances and decisions made during that period, even if it involved individuals who were inexperienced or ill-equipped to handle such matters.